All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Well, welcome to the very second Say Goodnight Kevin Q&A. So, I did one of these, how long ago? Probably 100 years ago. Seriously, it was like within the first year. Hold on, I should check. I should have checked this all along. YouTube.com. Behind the scenes, 10 dumb things I can do. Q&A, first one ever. Q&A, first one ever.
Hi there. I'm Kevin. Well, welcome to my very first and last Q&A. No, I may do this again.
No.
I got so many questions. I wish I could answer all of them, but I can't.
I was right. Yeah, I mean, and now, guess what? I am going to answer all of them. Cool, huh? It's quarantine time. It's been a while since I made a video, so I was like, you know what? I've been kind of working on other stuff. I was working on my deck. Carmen and I were putting together a very nice... I built my deck last year, and this year I stained it, and it looks real nice. Check out the pictures. Looks pretty good, huh? I thought so. Barkley and Ruffles, they're good dogs. Very good dogs. Look at that. That's my new podcast episode that I uploaded, and I'm right now uploading a video onto Vimeo for SGK+, so that's something fun. Yeah. So I haven't done a Q&A really that much before because it always just seemed like something that I don't feel like I had a lot to say. And why would anybody need to ask me any questions? But today is a different day. Today is a day that I've decided to do a Q&A. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you don't, then fine. So I put the call out on Twitter and I said, hey guys, what's up guys? That's what you say when you're a YouTube star. A lot of people responded. I actually was surprised. Very surprised at how many people actually had questions. All of them dumb, but still, questions indeed. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I figured, hey, this is the perfect thing for me to do to get back in the groove of making videos because I took a little time off. Sometimes you just need to take a little break, and I took a little break, but now I'm back. So what do we got going on here? We're gonna do a mixture. We're gonna do some Q&A, and then we're gonna open up a mailbag, something that I haven't done in a while. So it's gonna be a Q&A/mailbag. Let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right into it and see what you guys had to say. All right, first off, let's head over to Twitter. It's only Twitter that I'm doing this, and so maybe this will be like a once... When was this one made? This was July 7th, 2014. Perfect. So every 6 years, I'll do one of these. First is from Amy Clegg. What is the meaning of life? Great question, Amy. I don't know if you are being serious or not. Typically, I would take this question as a joke question. But also recently, you were like asking really deep questions on Twitter, and sometimes you post things and you're like, I don't mean to call you out for being sad sometimes. It's okay. We're all sad sometimes. So I hope you're not genuinely asking because what do I know? I don't know. It is interesting, the question, what is the meaning of life? Because as you get older, you start thinking, I genuinely start thinking like I'll get up to go to the bathroom at night. I know, TMI. And I'll just sit like in my half awake, half asleep. I think about like it just pops in my head the humanity of a human, like how I will be dead one day and I won't exist, and that's a weird thing to think about, I suppose, and so I guess that does make you think about what the meaning of life is. I think the meaning of each individual person's life is important for you to understand, like in terms of what is it that you feel you are best at, where can you do the most good, where are you most fulfilled in your life. You don't have to figure all of that out. You don't have to figure it out right away. I think part of the meaning of life is just the adventure of figuring it out. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer. Obviously, why do we exist? I think that ultimately, we exist because God made us and He wanted us to exist, and so we exist in that regard, and we won't entirely know what that means in the end. But also, if you've had hot now Krispy Kreme donuts, then that might actually answer your question. Thank you, Amy. I hope that answered your question. Next question is from Josh Shepard, my old friend Josh Shepard. Josh has been a friend of mine for probably 10 years, even though we haven't hung out as much as maybe we would if we lived in the same area. And now he's a writer. He's a great writer, and it's very fun because we have lots of disagreements. He's the type of person who you can like have a genuine like conversation debate with, and he won't cut you any slack. And I like that. He knows what he believes, and yet he's very open-minded. So I like that kind of thing. I probably won't give out like an explanation of the profile of every single person that I'm reading from, but let's just see the question that Josh has. The Erwin brothers have hoped to be filming their Kurt Warren film by now, originally slated for December release. Have you heard any status on that one? And considering you have a higher opinion of the Erwins versus other Christian directors, do you anticipate this film being good? That's an interesting observation of or analysis of what I think of the Erwin brothers films. Erwin brothers are great people, and the other Christian film directors in general are great people. I think obviously the Kendrick brothers are really great people, and the just others are good people. I haven't met a Christian film director that I dislike. I think there's ones that I disagree with a ton, but what you're saying is their films. You're talking about the films. My opinion of their work, I would say I'm not sure. Josh, I feel like you would probably know more about this than I would, because I'm not in touch with them very often. And so I think that, as I've said before, I'm disappointed that I Still Believe didn't get like the full release, for better or worse. I think it would have been good to know how I Still Believe would have performed. That's their Jeremy Camp movie that came out right before the quarantine happened. And not that I think that movie's great. In fact, I'm working on a review for that film right now, and I don't have an extremely high opinion of that movie, but I think it's disappointing that I Still Believe didn't get to come out and be all that it could be. So I would rather see it succeed or fail in the same playing field as other films, and the fact that it came out and it may have succeeded or it may have done just as well as it did, but now we'll never know because it did worse than they anticipated it doing, but that can all be placed on the quarantine. Some of it can't be, obviously, but it will be, and unfortunately that's how it goes. Unfortunately for me and my desire to kind of analyze how good a movie is and look at the box office numbers, I find that stuff fascinating, but for them, it's a gamble. If it was going to do better than it did, this is a bad thing for it. If it was going to do worse than it did, then this is great because now they can kind of tell Lionsgate, hey, give us another shot. It probably secures their place with Lionsgate a little better, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's too bad that their production schedule has been pushed forward, just like all the other movies. That's bad for the people who would have been working on the films. It's bad for the economy as a whole. It's not a good thing. Do I think that this movie is going to be good? I don't know. One of the issues that I have with the Erwin brothers, they often, at least with their biopics that they've done 3 now, Woodlawn, I Still Believe, and I Can Only Imagine. And I just often feel like they're very glossy films. And, kind of like Remember the Titans or a lot of the Disney, they kind of feel like the Disney sports movies that happened in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. And where Cool Runnings, it's just very like, it's like, oh, you look into the real story, and this is a lot of stuff was changed, and that's fine. That's a style, it's a genre, but if you're looking to like learn what really happened, like looking for this super deep researched thing, then it seems much more driven by what's the message here. I can't spend a million years on all these questions, so I'll move it right along. But great question, Josh. Hope to hear from you and hear what you think about it. This is from Deborah Kelty, anticipating Tenet and Dune 2020. What do you think of the current state of Christian movies being made now compared to the ones you've reviewed before? Are more known filmmakers in the arena aware of yours and other critiques, etc.? I don't know that a lot of filmmakers are thinking about my reviews or other bigger name reviews when they're making their movies. Maybe some of them. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I wouldn't be arrogant enough to think that they cared. I think that some have gotten in touch with me and been like, "Hey, Kevin, I think, we like your reviews, or we appreciate what you're saying, or keep up the good work," or whatever. I appreciate them saying that. Does that bleed over into their movies? I hope so. I hope that there's a level to where Christian films are getting better. And as I've said about the Irwins, I think that their movies look and feel and sound like they're well written, well acted, well produced. And what I hope then stems out of that is just more honesty, like tackling deeper issues than the kind of, these movies kind of tackle issues that seem very safe. And I say that, but yet I also see all these other movies, they're like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to really tackle the real issues. We're going to have, all these really dark, sad issues that they're also not good, though. I mean, that's not what makes a movie. It's kind of like how Hollywood always gets the wrong message from a movie. They're like, "Oh, this movie did really well and it was rated R, so we're just going to make rated R movies." I almost feel that's the kind of the way it is in the Christian film arena, but it's more the audience. The audience does give pressure. So is it getting better? Yes, but they're always going to complain. Like these movies will always have people pushing back, and it's just a matter of how much people are willing to make a movie, I guess, that is good, what like the filmmaker actually wants to make, and how much they'll be allowed to make that, not necessarily by the suits and the people in charge, but how much they're going to be allowed to make that by the people who watch the movies. A lot of people don't want to go to a movie that is, dirty or has cuss words or whatever. But even more than that, you look at a movie like Silence that asks questions that kind of are about faith. I like movies that ask those types of deep questions, but the box office numbers kind of show that Christians didn't support that movie. And a lot of times I think Christians as a whole support movies that say something that they believe spoken back to them, or gives them this good feeling. And in the end, I don't know that Christian movies will ever be good. I think that we'll get some good ones, but I don't think that the big budget Christian movies will be good. I don't think that there's money in it, because I think that the whole idea of making a Christian movie means you're specifically making a movie for Christians, and then Christians watch it and they're like, "Oh, good, I like this because it says the thing that I believe," or they watch it and they say, "Oh, good, this will really propagandize my faith," or "Oh, good, that made me feel really good about believing what I believe." You're not going to get movies that like challenge Christianity in a genuine way, because why? Like, why? You might as well just make a movie like Scorsese does, and then let the Christians complain about the fact that you made a movie that asks deep questions. And I would rather, honestly, you get movies that like Last Temptation, and I would rather a Christian make a movie that asks those questions and handle that topic. Like I've talked about The Chosen. I think that that's a really well done series. Last Temptation is a non-believer, or to a degree. I mean, I think Scorsese has a cultural faith, but I don't know. I'm not here to judge his faith, but I do think that you want to talk about movies that challenge people. Well, that's a movie that challenges people, and you allowed somebody who isn't even part of that faith to be the one handling it, and then you complain about it? Like, this is one of the good ones. And yeah, it's made in a way that somebody who isn't a Christian would make a movie. The task of making a challenging, well-made, well-constructed, well-acted, interesting, faith-based movie, this is the way a non-Christian would handle that subject matter. I don't know. The fact that Christians complained about Last Temptation, make your own. Make a good, interesting Christian movie, or a movie about Christian topics, and then maybe a good one will overshadow that. All right, I'm spending too much time on all these questions. Deborah, you asked another question. Also, how do you think it'll be like for those movies in the next few years? I don't know. It'll be interesting. The Irwins are coming out with more movies. I hope the fact that the Irwin brothers movies have done so well kind of open people's minds that maybe Christian movies can be about more than just get down on your knees and pray, field moment type stuff. You know, maybe more challenging, thought-provoking movies and story-driven films will come out of this. So maybe I'm looking more forward to what's to come, as you asked, than what currently exists. Thomas Dunn, he likes to poke the bear. He says, what are your thoughts on universal health care? Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate it. Here I am. I'm like, people need to just be brave enough to make stuff, not be afraid to lose their audience, and tackle deep topics. This is a highly unpopular opinion, but I think that it's a bad idea. And I think that, I know I'm going to sound like a conservative, but in all honesty, I think that with most things, the free market can handle them better. And a lot of people say, well, Kevin, the reason the medical system is the way it is right now is because the free market is handling it. But it's not the free market. There's a lot of regulation. You could read a book called Primal Prescription that talks about this sort of thing. But just from the inception, really, of medicine in the United States, there have been, even down to the requirement of having more and more degrees to practice medicine, that has made it more expensive. And so, I was kind of talking about doctors. So the fact that it's more and more difficult and more expensive to become a doctor has a lot to do with regulation. So, but the people, this is just early in the beginning, the people who pushed for the requirement to initially, it used to be that you would have an apprenticeship, and that's how you became a doctor. You would apprentice with an actual doctor, and you would learn alongside that doctor, and then you would practice medicine. And so then it was actually the schools that were giving out doctorates in medicine that pushed for regulation in order to make it illegal to practice medicine if you didn't have a degree from their school. Well, isn't that convenient for them? And so then made it not so that, it didn't make it so that doctors were more safe. It just made it so that there were fewer doctors. So there may have been somebody who was practicing medicine and they didn't have a degree from a huge school, but there were more of them, and they were able to serve people in local communities. And so all of a sudden, people in poorer communities didn't have doctors. They just lost their doctor because their doctor was illegal. And so the doctor either had to learn how to pay for schooling or learn to do something else. And so that hurts poorer people. I don't think the government handles those sorts of things very well. I think that something like insurance works better when it's covering things the way car insurance does. If there's an accident or there's an issue, you've got coverage for somebody else for something catastrophic. But I don't think that it works very well for regular doctor's visits. Just like with cars, you don't pull out your insurance card when you get an oil change. What I would prefer, and you can do this now, there's a place here in Nashville that's called the Town Doctor, and it's kind of like Netflix but for medical care. And I think that type of, it's a subscription, and so they're incentivized to keep you healthy because then the doctor isn't so busy, you're always paying the same amount, and there isn't that kind of incentive to let's do a bunch of tests and then you have to pay us more money. I think that's a much better approach, and it's something that we can do right now, because I think sitting around and waiting for the government to fix this whole mess, or hoping that more government involvement is going to fix any of it, because it's something that they already have messed up so tremendously. I totally understand people's heart behind universal healthcare, and I know a lot of people in Canada who have it and are like, no, Kevin, it's really good, it's great. I know some people in Canada, generally older people, who say, no, it's not so great. So I'm not here to say which is better, but if you are asking for my thoughts, I think that a more free market approach actually would work better. The reason why I don't get upset about this kind of thing is because I feel like we all want the same thing. We all want to see everybody healthier, and they don't want people standing in lines, and they don't want people going broke because they have to pay for medicine. And so the argument and the disagreement is just, how do we do it? All right, Thomas, you've gotten me on an economic soapbox talking about healthcare. I just lost half my viewers, but you know what? It's okay. I don't think ill of people who want universal healthcare. I think that people who want it genuinely want to see people healthy just like I do. It's just a matter of which you think might be more effective. And personally, I think that the market can be much more effective in that regard in most things. You guys get the idea. All right, Thomas, you have another one. What direction do you plan to take your content in? I don't know. I'm focusing a lot on SGK Plus. I think that that's a really fun place for me to release content that's more like what we're doing right now, where it's just kind of open and talking and communicating with the audience. I think that I will continue to review Christian movies and other content. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing and see where that takes me. I would love to see my channel grow, but I also totally understand that maybe it won't, and that's okay. I just love making the videos that I make, and I love the audience that I have, and I think that I never would have dreamed that my audience would be as big as it is, and of course, I'd love for it to grow, but I think that I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and if people like it, then great, and if they don't, I get it. I totally get it. Why have you only made reviews featuring the dogs, and will there ever be one featuring the cats? Cats always get shafted. That's from Lindsay Dunn. No relation, I don't believe, to Thomas. The cats aren't really mine. They're Carmen's. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'll have the cats in the videos. Sure. Or are you talking about that I haven't reviewed movies about cats? Maybe I will in the future. Tara asks, who do you think will win in a fight between a grilled cheese sandwich and a taco? Great question. Obviously, the taco, well, it depends. If it's a hard shell taco, then grilled cheese sandwich is going down. If it's a soft shell, I think that, I don't know. I was gonna make a cheesy joke. 1466 Ben asks, why haven't you reviewed The Secrets of Jonathan Sperry yet? Because Rich Cristiano loves to take down my videos that I make about his movies. Maybe I'll review it sometime, but I don't know. I don't have any motivation anymore to review a Rich Cristiano film because he put a copyright strike on my account. Sorry, I don't like the threat of losing my channel. So that's why. Jared, businessman Jer, asks, do you have in your packages a Kleenex? Theophany Media. Theophany Media. I don't know how to say it. How does one strike the balance between funny comedy and destruction joking? When does humor cross the line? Oh, that is the most subjective thing ever. Like, different situations, one thing may be funny, and like if you're at home with your parents, sometimes there's jokes that you won't say around your parents, and as we know, if you're afraid to tell your mom about it, then that's when you know it's wrong.
Never trust a decision you don't want your mom to know about.
Every type of joke is at the expense of someone or something. No joke crosses the line in terms of it actually being destructive, other than to your own relationships with people. If you don't want somebody to like you anymore, make fun of them in a mean way. And so that's up for interpretation. I don't know. There's stuff that I don't say. There's YouTube channels and videos that I watch that make jokes that, you know, I would never say on my channel, but that there's some degree where I'm like, okay, it's not beneficial to me financially to make a joke like this in my channel and the audience that I've built for me to make these certain jokes. You know, I don't want people to be blindsided. Sometimes, you know, I'll make a joke here and there that it kind of is an edgy joke for my channel. But honestly, if that joke was made anywhere else, it would be fine. And so I think that makes it easier for me to have a certain, like, you know, oh, I'll cross the line, but still not feel like I'm really hurting anybody. When it comes to, you know, like doing reviews and stuff, there've been a few times where I've made a joke maybe about an actor or an actress that I'm like, you know, to me, I felt like I was joking about the casting, like, why did they cast this person? but maybe it was taken as me making fun of somebody's looks. You know, if you've got a 50-year-old woman playing a high schooler, well, in the end, it's hard to not point that out. I look at a movie as something that you've built and constructed, and so in that regard, I don't ever feel like anything crosses the line. I try to, in the sense that I try to maintain criticizing and making fun of the movie and the choices that were made related to the movie, and not just, like, why does this person have ugly teeth? Like, that's not fair. So I think that maybe answers your question a little bit. I don't know. Josiah Rep says, water, earth, fire, or air? Air. Yeah, I would say yang, the last one. When is the inner tube coming back? It's not. I don't think. It's not really up to me, but yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Josh wants to do it anymore, and so we're not doing it. It's actually probably why I'm doing a Q&A, because I always didn't do a Q&A because I felt like if anybody had any questions, they could write to me on the inner tube, and yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's something that wants to be done. So maybe I made a joke that crossed the line. Who knows? What is the most important piece of advice you would give to emerging filmmakers of faith? Oh man, great question. I don't know that I have an answer for that. Write things that you know and focus on stories. Focus on interesting stories, stuff that you find interesting, and telling that story. Maybe that's cliche, but I really think that's the foundation of a good movie. And then the second thing I would probably say is just do it. Trademark Kevin, just do it. And also read books about making movies, read books about storytelling. I've got a list on my website of stuff, and maybe it'll be linked in the description, of stuff that you can do or watch, or list of books. What am I saying? There, list of books that you can read that have really helped me. Not that I'm a filmmaker, but I read it and I'm like, man, if I was a filmmaker, this would be really helpful. But they've helped me in analyzing movies and stuff, so I recommend that. Also, listen to my podcast, because I interview a lot of filmmakers, and really a huge thing about my channel. Thomas asked what direction I really want to go. Probably focusing on being educational, not in a infomercial sort of way, or a lecture series kind of way, but just, I hope that my channel inspires people to think. I've always said that, encouraging people to think for themselves. I want to continue to do that, but one of those things is being positive and pointing out things in movies that work. I've done that a lot in my reviews recently, just because I find it very fascinating. And, I'm going to continue doing that Mystery Science Theater type stuff, but I really do think that, I want to learn too. And I hope that through my channel, through my podcast, through different stuff, you guys get to learn stuff as well. Thank you, Jacob. All right, man. Wow, so many questions. That's really nice of you guys. The Eliphas Hour. Do you like watching and reviewing biblical adaptations or biblical valued, just your standard Christian movies more? Biblical adaptations or biblically valued? So guessing like, The Chosen or David and Goliath. Probably the biblical adaptations, because those have they're grounded in kind of a historical context. A lot of times, biblically valued movies will be modern movies, because it's cheaper to film in the modern day, than it is to do a period piece. And so I would say generally that, but I've seen a lot of bad biblical adaptations. And also it gets old. I mean, Samson, for one, but it does get old. So I like variety. And so kind of theoretically, the biblically valued Christian movies have the potential of having more variety about different things, not just sword and sandals films. But in practice, I don't know that that's always true. Adam Vaughn 13. Why do you love sound? Sound. I don't know. I think it's something that when I was a young warthog, I enjoyed recording stuff on tapes, and I had a tape recorder. And so it was also something that, with audio, I can do professionally better than I can do videos professionally, I think. And also, I think it's so cool that you can kind of make something sound and feel new and different, and more professional because you added sound effects. So that's probably the main reason. But also, I'm better at it probably than I am at video editing. And so, I like editing audio because I can see like what's being said. I mean, you can do that, but I focus on the audio when I edit videos anyway. So yeah, does that help? Is that answering your question? It doesn't matter. Have you read Boy Erased or Blue Like Jazz? I have not read either one. I should read Blue Like Jazz because I saw the movie, and I probably should have read it first before watching the movie, because I didn't love the movie, and maybe that would have been different had I read the book, though that would be the first time in history where somebody liked a movie because they read the book. But I actually might read both of those right after these messages. Let's go ahead and look at this. This is a maybe I didn't check. For those of you who think this show ain't art, check this out. This is from Korea, because I know this because Carmen saw it and she's like, that's from Korea. I won't read all of this, but it's very sweet of you to write to me all the way from Korea, Anna. That is really nice. Thank you. For those of you who think this show ain't art, check this out. This is from Sykes. If you want to write to my mailbag, you can look in the description. I'll try to put it in there. This is also a long letter from Timothy Sykes. Timothy, 14 years old. I have to say, I do not recommend 14-year-olds watching my show, but if you like watching it, very well then. I'm subscribed to Blimey Cow, and one night looking at their subscriptions, I saw your channel, Say Goodnight Kevin. So I clicked it. Oh, great. I'm corrupting Blimey Cow viewers. So I clicked it, checked it out. Once I saw your videos, I couldn't stop watching. Your movie reviews are great and funny. I make videos too, so I love your critical eye on movies. Thank you. Wow, I'll have to check out your channel. I can't click this link though because it's on a piece of paper, but I will check it out. I'm dyslexic. My parents say I see too much with my dyslexia. I'm constantly telling them to rewind videos, see camera shadows, etc. That's awesome. That's really cool. That is very nice. Thank you very much. I didn't read the whole letter, but it's just more stuff about Donkey Ali. Thank you so much, Timothy. Oh, from Erica. This is, I believe, a Christmas card. That's how long it takes me. This is to Carmen and me. Have a wonderful season of laughter and fun. Thank you for all the good times, deep thoughts, and great conversation. Thank you, Erica. Man, some great people in this. I am so proud of this community. I believe this one may also be a Christmas card. From Rosie, Kevin and Carmen, and all the fur babies. Christmas waves a magic wand over the world, and behold, everything is softer and more beautiful. Wow. I'm sorry that for the terrible handwriting. I totally get it. I'm a bit dyslexic. Wow, are all my fans dyslexic? I too suffer from dyslexia, so that is too cool. You drew this. You made this yourself, right? Am I correct? Every year I make a limited print run of a Christmas card. Yeah, look at this. Look at that. Doink. Wow. For those of you who think this show ain't art, the people who get that joke, you're the blessed ones. Every year I make a limited print, send it to friends and family, and I thought I would send you this one. Thanks for making such vibrant content and never giving up your dreams. You're one of the real ones. RosieRosieMay.com. Check that out. Then I've got 2 DVDs. I'm in love with a church girl. Look at that. Kevin, I've been a big fan for a long time and wanted to send you this amazingly awful film for your entertainment, possibly review. I'm thinking about doing more of the movies that you guys send to me on SGK Plus, like doing commentary. So we're going to watch some of those together very soon. So get ready for that. So I'll be watching more of the stuff that you guys have sent me. So send away. Oh, this is from Tyler Smith. He sent me his book. I imagine that's who this is from. I could have read it. Tyler Smith, if you want to check out the podcast that I did with him. Thank you, Tyler. I really appreciate that. That is really sweet of you. And I will try to learn to read and then read your book. Then I can read Blue Like Jazz. Oh. I'm sorry it took me forever. This is great. Perfect timing. We got a patch of a police officer. So, from West Virginia. But this is real. Like, this is the real deal because I could look up the email, but I don't have time. This is a movie. It stars Dean Cain and Jeff Moore, a guy who was in this movie. He's an actual police officer, but he also... he's an actual police officer, and he also got to be in this movie. And he said it's something worth watching. So he's seen my channel. He knows. He knows what I'll say, but I look forward to watching it. Let's get back into the questions. You guys may hear my air conditioner, but I'm going to turn my air conditioner on because it's getting so hot in my room. Vitalia Straight. Out of the movies you've reviewed, which do you feel have the most potential to be good if it had been handled by a better filmmaker? Oh, man. That's a good question. I guess all of them, but Samson for sure. Probably Unplanned. Like, if a really good filmmaker had that story, I feel like it would be an interesting story, but I could be wrong. But definitely that movie. Yeah, probably not God's Not Dead, or like those are just generic in the core of what they are. Even the Kendrick brothers, maybe the most recent one, and also Fireproof could have been, but to me, I think that Ladder 49 does that pretty well. Just the exploration of the toll that being a firefighter takes on someone's life and family life and stuff. Ladder 49 does that better, and probably that show that had Dennis Leary in it that I can't remember right now. Nicholas asks, what do you dislike more, Taxes or the God's Not Dead universe? Taxes, I would say, just because I think that the God's Not Dead universe, people voluntarily went to see that. Yes, it's manipulative, but nobody was forced at gunpoint to watch that movie. In fact, I just did a video kind of about this on SGK Plus that's about how, it's a reaction to a Babylon Bee article. That was a joke, obviously, but it was like, Congress has passed a law to stop God's Not Dead, for the next God's Not Dead movie from being made. And to me, it made me think about it, even though obviously it's a parody and I get the joke, but which is why I didn't release the video. Not that I didn't get the joke in the video, but I just thought people wouldn't understand, but I'll say it here. I think that I don't want the government stopping the God's Not Dead movies from being made. I'm glad they exist. I'm glad we live in a country where people can make crappy movies like that. They're free to do it. They're free to make, Christian movies. They're free to make porn, like dirty movies or whatever. I don't have to watch it and I don't have to give my money to it. I'm glad we live in a country where I'm free to criticize it and say, this sucks, this is terrible, and I can put that out there. And, and of course we can criticize taxes, but you can't choose not to pay them. And I think that, and if you do, and then if you do choose not to pay them, then like Wesley Snipes, who went to jail, that's disgusting. That's terrible that he went to jail. So that's my answer. I know I got political. I'm sorry. Sometimes I think man, if I just stop being political, maybe that's what will make my channel grow. So I'll just stop saying the things I believe in, maybe. How are Barkley and Ruffles doing? They're great. They're enjoying their new stained deck. Seth asks, why is a sad Cebu sad? Because VeggieTales isn't good anymore. What is your favorite video that you've made? Ooh, that's hard to say. There's some that stick out. I think my favorite review, it might be the God's Not Dead review, just because that's been so... I got to say a lot of stuff that I had never thought that I would say out loud on my videos, and it also is kind of it's brought a lot of people in, and so I think that that's good. Maybe the How to Make a Christian Movie was pretty good. I really liked that one about the that I made after one of the shootings. I think that's a pretty good. I watched that the other day, and I'm like, I really like this video. There's a lot of stuff that I got to say, sometimes in a sarcastic way, in that video. I think it's called "Can Police Save School Kids from Active Shooters?" That's what it's called. I think I make some good points in that. I'm proud of it. Okay, I'm sorry. What would be the biggest, most ambitious goal you might have for Say Goodnight Kevin? To be full-time making these videos, probably, where I can just make videos. I can review videos, and that be my livelihood. That's probably my biggest goal. Theological theory. Do you feel that you made productive changes in the world of Christian films through your critiques and reviews? I think I've made a lot of people laugh, and I think that maybe I, in my own small way, changed individuals' hearts and minds. And if that's what I did, then I'm happy that I get to do this. That some people may feel like they didn't have permission to criticize things because they were Christian, and now they're like, oh, actually, that's good. I'm glad that, actually now I feel confident and comfortable saying, you know what, yes, I still believe what I believe, but I don't think this movie's good, or I don't believe what I used to believe and don't think this movie's good. If I've encouraged any individual, if I've reached one person, then it was all worth it. Do I think I made an impact on the industry overall? I don't think so. I mean, I think that there's so many other people like Cinema Snob and Hugo and Jake that are much bigger, more popular than me, and so I'm a small channel, so I don't know that it's possible. Maybe it's possible. I think that some people have. What I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't be so arrogant to say that I've made an impact or any sort of productive change in the industry, but I do think that I've touched some hearts, and maybe my reviews have made people think, and maybe I've made a little bit of a change in the audience. But there's a lot of people who, I mean, Babylon Bee puts out articles all the time that kind of, have reached people and making fun of Christian movies and stuff. So other people are doing it, and I'm not the first to criticize this, but maybe I'm one of the voices that are kind of making some change. Maybe I'm a straw in the camel's back. How do you balance Christian themes and storytelling without feeling too blatant? Also, when will the inner tube return? Great question. First one's a great question. Second one, I already answered that question. Come on. I don't know. I think the main thing is focusing on stories. I don't think that it's wrong to avoid having a Christian theme in your film. I don't think it's wrong to have a Christian theme in the film, but I think it has to feel organic to the story, or else it'll feel cheesy. And yeah, that's from Christian Alexander. Sorry, I don't think I've been reading everybody's names. Travis Douglas, reviewing movies so much. Do you ever feel like I can make one and it probably would be better than these? So yeah, sometimes I feel like I could make a movie better than some of the movies I review, but I don't know that I could make a movie that would be good enough for me to not review, if that makes sense. Like, I have reviewed movies that are better than a movie that I would make, and I still criticize it. And I think the difference between me and those filmmakers is I know my limitations, and I don't make a Christian movie because I know that I don't think at this point in my life I would be all that good at it. Sometimes I see movies and I'm like, wow, maybe they learned from this that they're not good at this, but maybe they didn't. Are there any pets you would never own or want to but can't? I want to own a wallaby. Wallabies are so cute and precious, and I can, technically, legally. But they are a lot of work. They can be trained, but there's a Instagram you can look up, Jack the Wallaby, and he's so cute. He lives in Nashville, and that guy, I talked to him a little bit. I messaged him, and he said, yeah, if you want a wallaby, you got to be ready to never leave your home ever, because they need constant care, and And so I probably will never own one, but I would, and then a snake. I would never want to own a snake. I don't like reptiles, and I don't really like birds either. They're kind of gross to me. The Tube Season 2. When? This is from Bagel Gabe. I don't know. I actually talked to Bobby recently. Who knows? That would be interesting if we did another something like that. I don't know if he's interested in that kind of thing. It would be different. It'd be really different. Current favorite movie, TV show, and bands right now. Current favorite movie. I just watched the movie Knives Out. It's not my favorite, but it is really good. There's also a movie called The Death of Stalin, which is so good. It's a dark comedy about the Soviet Union. It's fantastic. Oh, bands. Man, I'm stuck on a lot of bands I used to know. I've been listening to a lot of rap music. I really like Juice WRLD. May he rest in peace. I really like the new Blink-182. It's not that new, but this past year, I really like their album. I think that they're much better with whatever his name is from Alkaline Trio. I like Alkaline Trio. A lot of old school in terms of like what was popular when I was a teenager. I like those bands in that kind of style, pop punk type stuff, or emo rap type stuff. Any plan to bring back the inner tube in the future? It's been at least up to 16 weeks now. I think it's coming up on a year probably, because it was BlimeyCon, and then we did something as a follow-up to that maybe. Already answered that question. Probably not. What qualifications does a Christian movie need in order to be good, other than good writing and character development? Oh, good question. Maybe I need to save some of these. I didn't realize there'd be so many questions. I'm almost to the end. We'll keep going. What have I been going, an hour? Gee whiz. Who knows? What qualifications does a Christian movie need in order to be good? Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all you need. No, I think that a well-written story, well-directed, is the most important thing. It's all subjective. So obviously you're asking, what do I think is good? What would I need to see? And those are two things that I probably would want to see, is quality writing and good character development and believable scenarios, believable situations, not propagandizing, but focusing on story and something. I'm not extremely picky. I like a lot of different types of movies, and I know a lot of Christian filmmakers think I'm extremely picky, but honestly, those are two things that I think are probably the most important. How do you do it? I don't. I'm bad at it. What happened to the inner tube? Did you and Josh finally break up? Will it ever come back with possibly Bobby? Just kidding. Unless, yeah, probably Bobby and Josh will get together and start making it. I don't know. And probably the second question is true. I think that Josh and I probably have grown apart, it seems. It's weird to talk about that, since we joked about it for so long on the inner tube that we would just kind of this was the death of our friendship. And I don't think it's the death of our friendship. I just think that perhaps, he's busy and he's got his family. I think he's focusing on what is important to him. I mean, he's a dad now, and I'm not. I'm not a father that I know of. I think that causes you to reflect probably on what's important to you, and so I think he's focusing on what's important to him. And I think I'm not. I'm not that. Clearly, I'm not that. So it's fine. The inner tube is probably something that I cared about a lot more than Josh, and maybe I forced him to do it. I loved the show. It was a great show, and I think it was a funny show. Probably one of the best things I ever did in my life, and so I'm glad they exist. I'm glad those videos and those episodes exist, and they're great. Some of the greatest stuff I ever did. There you have it. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Maria Michael asks, are you a Christian, or were you a Christian? No shade, I'm an atheist. Just interested as to what angle you're coming from. Love your videos. Great question, Maria. So I am a Christian. Maybe the difference is I'm sympathetic. Like you saying you're an atheist is something that I'm like when I hear that, I'm like, oh, good, one of my people. Not that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're an atheist. But generally, for someone to come to the place where they claim to be an atheist, they've clearly thought about things. Now, there's some people who are just kind of pop atheists, and they're like, I'm an atheist because all my friends are. Or they're an atheist because it'll tick off their parents. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people watch my show, and they're atheists, and I think that you're welcome. Not you're welcome like you said, thank you, but you're welcome to participate in my show because I think I get the perspective. It's been a long journey for me of kind of like evaluating my faith, and for a while, even while doing Say Goodnight Kevin, I never said that I was an atheist because I think that's a very definitive place to be. But I would say that I have been more or less agnostic at times in my career, and at times in my life, I'm much more, agnostic in some days than I am other days. And the idea of saying I'm not sure if God is real is probably one of the most reasonable statements that I can think of because he's invisible. Also, along those lines, there's so much propaganda. There's so much history of manipulation and deception and people using the Bible. I love that movie Book of Eli because it tells the story of the Bible being used for power and control, and religion does that. People love to use guilt. They love to control people with guilt. I think the conclusion or the place that I've come to, I hate to say conclusion about this kind of thing, but the place that I've come to is that I have always attempted to avoid throwing the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to my faith, because Christians are the worst. But does that make it untrue? No, it doesn't. A lot of really bad people can believe a true thing. The sky is blue. But because Hitler believed the sky was blue, does that mean that I can no longer believe that? No, that would be ridiculous. And so for that, if God is real, the people who follow God are by no means a factor in that. Now, I do understand the perspective that, okay, well, people say they have a spirit living within them that have changed them and made them better people, and yet you're looking at them and you're like, these aren't better people, these are terrible people. So I think in that regard, it is fair to, if somebody's like, hey, I'm good because of this thing, then of course you're going to look at the evidence and say, it doesn't seem so. But for me, I don't think I'm a better person because I do a lot of things that aren't great, just because I believe, but I don't want to not believe if it is real. And some of the things that have convinced me that the Bible, like Jesus, the story of Jesus and God exist, are a lot of different books and a lot of different thinkers. So I think that there's some people who just expect that you're going to believe it. Some of those books, I really like Mere Christianity and G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy. Those are two books that during one of those times where I was kind of analyzing a lot of this stuff, I read those books. They're thinking men, and I appreciate that. A lot of stuff I disagree with in those books as well, but they made a lot of points that I don't hear people making, and had a lot of like answers to questions that I hear a lot of atheists make. I love, though, Christopher Hitchens, may rest in peace as well. I find him very fascinating as well. He's a very funny person. I think that sometimes I watch his debates and I'm like, well, this is not really, he's intentionally misunderstanding this just for the sake of winning the debate, which is a strategy. All of that to say, yeah, I would claim at this point to be a Christian, and I believe that Jesus was real and the things reported in the Bible really happened. I'm probably somebody who I lean more towards the Bible being a report, a historical document, and I don't think that that's necessarily, I don't think it's necessary for it to be anything more than that, for it to be true. And if that's the case, then great. A lot of people would say that I'm not a real Christian then because of that, but I don't care. I'm going to believe what I believe because I believe it. There we go. Let me check to see if we have any other questions. It's been tube long. Great. Yes, just more inner tube questions. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this episode. Was this long enough? Was this good for a whole 6 years since my last Q&A? I hope so. And if you liked it, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Yeah, that's it. Follow me on Twitter, I guess. And be sure to like and subscribe. That really helps out the show. I'll talk to you guys later. Good night.